All right, do we have this clip? Because I'll set this up if we have the AJ clip.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1962, India and China fought a war that dealt with a border dispute in the Ladakh region. This is a region that's close to where the Chinese government occupies Tibet. The border has never been fully resolved, and it's a kind of ongoing source of tensions in the Chinese and Indian relationship. And now, of course, is a very different, dynamic. We have, extreme far right, ultra nationalist, consolidating and Indian government. Obviously, I do think, there have been shifts in Chinese foreign policy. They're definitely, the silent rise is over, as it were. And so there is much more assertiveness and aggression in Chinese foreign policy. There's a deep relationship that's developed between China and Pakistan. And just yesterday, it was horrifying. I mean, at least 20 Indian soldiers were killed in a clash in the border with China. The incident follows rising tension between the two Asian superpowers. I don't know if we have any video here.
No, sorry.
Okay, I'll read it. At least 20 soldiers have been killed in a face-off with Chinese forces in the disputed border region, the Indian Army said, in a major escalation of weeks-long standoff in the Western Himalayas. In a statement, the Army said on Tuesday that 17 critically injured Indian troops succumbed to their wounds, in addition to officer and 2 soldiers who had died earlier. You scroll down. Indian and Chinese troops have disengaged in the area where the clashes took place, the statement said, adding that India is firmly committed to protecting territorial integrity and sovereignty of the nation. So look, this is, as much as people are worried about the peninsula, and much as people are worried about, North Korea, which obviously has not gone away, this is, according to most analysis, even just the equation between China and Pakistan, this is the most likely area in the world for, an atomic exchange. Mm-hmm. Now you have this dispute that has lasted to some extent for 45 years between China and India that has not been resolved, heating up at a time with 2 governments with a very unlikely posture and desire to back down. And I think it's, it's interesting. And this is just a distinction in governance structure. Like, China, obviously, like any other state in the world, can use foreign conflicts to fortify domestic position. But because, obviously China isn't a democracy, and there is a responsiveness to the public around certain things, but not others. China can potentially guide these things more, right? And you see, like, as an example, at certain times, like, it's okay to go protest aggressively at the Japanese embassy. Now we're going to pull back. And if you keep doing it, you might get in trouble. And India, has never been, it's been formally a democracy for decades. It's obviously always been a place that has had everything from the horrifying occupation of Kashmir that, of course, has gotten worse, but has always been, one of the most militarized places on the planet. There's been pogroms against Sikhs. There's, persistent inequities and brutalities in India. But at the same time, Modi is still a leader that's competing in elections and that is consolidating. And I think the relationship between the vicious assault on Muslims inside India and then also an example, an opportunity to chest thump against Pakistan and China is pretty irresistible. I don't know in this case, I don't really know who has more validity in their claims. Yes. I think in the 60s, I would imagine, and certainly my read is that, Nehru was a much more kind of herbivorous leader than Mao, more interested potentially in finding an arrangement, but I don't know validity of that particular territorial claim.
I was just going to add a little bit of context to it, at least like what some people have been, the hypothesis of what led to the conflict is that, and again, I don't know like the actual like I think it's, it's a purely like disputed area. I think it's really
Yeah.
difficult to come up with any kind of judgment. I think it says a lot more about what side you prefer
Right.
than anything. But specifically, what I've read, the Indian nation has been really building up their infrastructure in the area around like areas that are disputed, while the Chinese have like very established roads and systems on their side. So I think this sort of like led, to basically, the dispute basically coming to the forefront, was that India has been spending a lot of energy right now, like trying to build infrastructure in the area that's disputed. But I mean,
Right.
it's definitely wild.
You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.